Star State on a Saturday night. 14-time NBA All-Star Shaquille O'Neal is in the house. He's here to watch Elio Castro-Neves, Scott Dixon, and others battle it out on the high banks of Fort Worth. For Scott Dixon, it's been a rough start this season.
Dixon, he is done.
But just 6 days ago in Milwaukee, he returned to victory lane and took the points lead for the first time in 2009.
The New Zealander has won it once again.
Scott Dixon, the Iceman.
He is the winner of the 92nd Indianapolis 500-mile race.
The 2008 Indycar Series champion, known for his dominance of high speed on high turned ovals.
Dixon will win it. Scott Dixon wins the race.
Dixon defends his Texas title tonight. Texas Motor Speedway. As the summer sun goes down, the lights come up on 24 degrees of banking. Speeds at over 210 miles an hour, and the greatest G-forces in American racing. Deep in the heart of Texas at Texas Motor Speedway in Fort Worth. Welcome to IndyCar Central on Versus. And there is excitement in the air. In less than an hour, the green flag will drop on the Texas Indy 550 on this always exciting 1.5-mile racetrack. Good evening, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins. If you have not seen a race here at Texas Motor Speedway, you are in for a treat. They race at over 220 miles an hour, side by side, wheel to wheel, breathtaking action. And to enhance it all, it's all under the lights. So do they race here like they do at other 1.5-mile racetracks on the IndyCar schedule? The answer is no. They don't race anywhere like they do here at Texas. Defending series champion Scott Dixon is back in the points lead as a result of his win last Sunday at the Milwaukee Mile, becoming the first repeat winner of 2009.
The 2008 IndyCar Series champion is going to drive into victory lane for the first time in 2009. Scott Dixon has won it. Here comes Dixon off of turn number 4. The twin checkers are out. The New Zealander has won it once again. Scott Dixon, a winner for the second time this season, takes the victory at the Milwaukee Mile.
If Scott Dixon can win here tonight, he will tie Sam Hornish Jr. as the all-time winner in the IndyCar Series. Right now, Sam has 19 victories, and Scott has 18. He is standing by with our Lindy Thaxton.
Scott Dixon starts this race as the defending champion. And Scott, is that title something that you think about as you prepare?
No, I think, you know, at this point in the season, we're just trying to go try and claim, I guess, as many race wins as possible. You know, it was definitely nice to come back to a track that you went at last year. I think the person with a lot of pressure is my teammate running the Energizer car this weekend. Obviously, it's run 3 times before that with those color schemes. So he's going to be the guy to beat. He's on the pole. He's definitely going to be very tough to beat.
This is your best starting position this season, 3rd. Talk about your strategy to stay out of trouble in this long and tough race.
Yeah, I think, you know, this is probably one of the races where starting position means the least. You know, this track definitely, you know, I think lends itself to being able to pass a lot of people, and, you know, starting near the back wouldn't be an issue, but, you know, starting up the front, I think you stay out of the trouble. I think in the middle of the pack there, it gets pretty crazy, so hopefully just stay out of trouble for the majority of the race, have good clean pit stops, and try and race the win at the end.
Scott Dixon, your current points leader. Bob?
And Lindy, the margin is 3 points. It was 4 until last night when Dario Franchitti won the pole for this event, so he picks up 1 point. Ryan Briscoe is 3rd. Danica Patrick and Elio Castro-Neves round out the top 5. Well, there's a little different way of introducing the drivers. They will come down the steps of the grandstand. They'll do that in a few moments. I'm going to be going up the steps to the booth. Jack Arute will be here to carry on IndyCar Central on Versus. Just a beautiful night in Fort Worth, Texas. Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway. You can see the incredible crowd here. This will be the second largest crowd of the season other than the Indianapolis 500. The estimates will be somewhere between 80 and 100,000 people here tonight.
And you know, you heard Elio say that when you get in the draft, it's like you have superpower. And that is what's going to have to be bridled as they come down. It's a long race, and you have to not let that emotion get a hold of you, Robbie.
And you're right. He said that word, superpower, but you have to know how to manage that. That's where the experience comes in. So if you're new to the game here at Texas Motor Speedway, you got to know when to make that move, when to take advantage of that run you have on somebody. You don't always want to fill a hole just to fill the hole because you got the momentum.
228 laps of racing here tonight on this 1.5-mile racetrack. That equates to 342 miles. It's the 6th race of 17 on the 2009 IndyCar Series schedule. All 24 cars lined up here on the main straightaway. In just a moment, we're going to be getting the command from NBA great Shaquille O'Neal to get this race underway.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command to fire the engines, please welcome your Grand Marshal, NBA great, Shaquille O'Neal.
Texas Motor Speedway, are we ready? I said Texas Motor Speedway, are we ready? Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines!
Engine start command has been given. Starting with row 1, count them off. Race control, row 1, both cars hot. Row 2, hot. Row 3, hot. 4, hot. Row 5, hot. Row hot. Row 7, hot. Row 8, hot. Hot. And hot. And row 12, all hot. 11 and 12 are both hot. And 12 are hot.
And that would mean that all cars are running and about to pull away behind the pace car to take 3 warm-up laps before getting the green flag. There is Sarah Fisher as she gets set to go 342 miles here tonight. Here's the starting lineup. Frankitti's on the pole with a 4-lap average of 214.5 miles an hour. Ryan Briscoe just a tick of the watch slower at 214.4. Dixon and Castro Neves are in row number 2. Danica Patrick on the inside of row number 3, along with Mario Marias. Back in the 4th row, it's Dan Weldon and Marco Andretti. 5th row consists of Bobby D, Robert Dornbos, and the new father, Ed Carpenter. Row number 6, Hideki Muto and Graham Rahal. Alex Tagliani back in the Conquest car. He starts alongside Sarah Fisher. Row number 8, Rafa Matos and Tony Kanaan, still suffering from the injuries at Indianapolis. Justin Wilson and Thomas Scheckter on row number 9. In the 10th row, Mike Conway and Milka Duno. And in the 11th row, Ryan Hunter-Ray and Jacques Lazier. The Peak Pole Award goes to Dario Franchitti in the number 10 Energizer car from Target Chip Ganassi Racing. He gets 1 point for the pole position, and that broke the tie that he had with Ryan Briscoe coming into this race, so he is in 2nd position. There you see the pole winners from this year, and now Dario adds his name to that list. We have 6 onboard cameras for you tonight. The number 11 car of Tony Kanaan has an onboard camera. So does Rafa Matos in car number 2, the Lusso Dragon machine. Sarah Fisher carries an onboard camera in her number 67. Danica Patrick getting her tires warmed up. Ryan Briscoe. And the pole sitter just ahead, Dario Franchitti. He also has an in-car camera. Jack, what do you see as strategy for tonight's race?
Well, guys, here's the way I break it out. Because of the high banks that Jan Bikus was talking about, all you have to do is be in the bubble. And what I mean by that is if the race speed, let's say, starts out at about 210, you want to make sure that you're in that bubble by about 1.5 miles to 2 miles an hour, and you can draft and you can stay up. But then you got to explore the possibilities. What I mean by that, you got to work all night. Try the draft. See if you work on the high side, if your car works on the low side. Make adjustments during pit stops. Take all of that information and store it, because you don't know what you're going to need when you get to what I call short track Saturday night. It's a 30-lap main event. That's when it goes for the gusto here at Texas Motor Speedway, the last 30 laps. And I tend to think that the car that works the best, if you can keep the car down on the white line, then you want to be leading at the white flag lap and not running in second. We'll wait and find out.
They'll get the green flag next time around. Here's our Mobile One track conditions. It's been a hot day in Texas. Right now, the temperature is 89 degrees, the track temperature 93, but it's a very comfortable night for the race fans that have gathered. The forecast for clear skies and fast speeds on the racetrack. The cars now begin to line up as they come off of corner number 2 down the backstretch. They're about a half a lap from getting the green flag. Practice on Thursday night was intense. We saw the side-by-side racing that I'm sure we're going to see here tonight. Again, if you've never seen a race at Texas Motor Speedway, strap in and hang on, because we are about to unleash the horsepower. Here comes the field. And the Apex Brazil green flag is waving. Here we go in the Texas Indy 550.
Dario goes clear, but I noticed that Danica Patrick did not get a clean start. She's falling back just a bit.
But still early. I mean, right now it's all about survival. You don't want to do anything to hurt your car, take yourself out of this event. You're still building temperature and the tires and the pressures.
Wow, look at this.
Thomas Schechter was really passing cars at the high side of the racetrack.
And that was rough. We were on board with rough, and we were panning over, and we saw Schechter on the outside there.
Wow.
Schechter followed him through. We had some meat in a sandwich there. That is the difference between someone just protecting and...
We got a couple of cars in trouble.
One was Graham Rahal. Milka Juno coming into the screen now.
And Milka was just on the low side of the track, and Graham had spun coming off there and just kind of came down and clipped her, and we'll take another look at that and see how it all started.
Wow. Schechter had moved up to 15th in one lap. Graham Rahal, however, suffers another disappointment. Milka is able to...
And I wonder if there's another car. I think if it's another car also.
That set that off with...
It looked like they
Graham.
Were tangled.
Yeah. Well, we see Graham moving his head there.
Yep, he's
okay. He's just trying to
get out of the car.
Get out of there.
Oh, there we go. No, that's Milka.
Yep.
She's going to be able to make it appears, back to pit lane, but you can see that there's a lot of damage to that car.
Yeah, they're not rebuilding that and bringing it back.
Nope. All right, let's see what happened.
EJ Viso. Yep, there is another car that was behind. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so there's Viso on the wall. We never even saw him as part of that, but that was coming off of turn 2. And turn 2 is absolutely the toughest corner here, because you just drop out of the bowl there, and it really flattens up. And if the car's pushing, let's watch.
Oh, Graham Rahal, it seemed to step out.
He did.
Yep.
It seemed to step out on its own.
And again, so that's, as you come off a turn 2 here, it really flattens out. And if the car's pushing it all, and then when you hit that flat area, the rear does come out. Okay, let's look ahead. There he's wiggling.
He gets
right
a
there.
wiggle. He gets a wiggle, and he's...
Oh, yeah. He was...
Wow.
Oh, that was the shot that we had, yes.
That was back in turn 4, guys. This happened over in 2.
So he had already a wiggle off of 4, and then he came and it got away from him. Wow.
So EJ could have just run up on him, just having to get out of the throttle. And with him having such a big wiggle over there in 4, there are bumps in the track, but maybe he had cut a tire or something. I mean, just to have that kind of wiggling around here.
EJ is okay, and so is Graham.
Graham's on the left of the screen. Look at the wiggling. That's a lot of wiggling. Something's up there. And that was Schechter that blew by kind of on the high side, and there's part of that momentum we saw when we saw Schechter kind of run by Rafa Matos.
So Graham already knew that he was in trouble. The car's wiggling, he's dropping back, so he obviously is going to be taking it easy, knowing that something must be amiss. And Myatt stepped out again on the other end of the racetrack, and poor E.J. Viso just gets collected.
But did you see how many times he was wiggling there? It wasn't like the car got loose and he got it back under control. It kept wiggling. It kept wiggling. So that's not just low tire pressures or anything like that. Something was amiss.
Jack?
Well, Bob, obviously something was amiss, you could see, but Graham Rahal said after he crashed, he said, I don't know, but the car from the drop of the green flag went way, way loose. It looked like he was just trying to hold on, guys, but could it be? I mean, maybe tires coming up to pressure, the fact that it's on the first lap. But right from the get-go, he told his team, my car is way, way loose.
Yeah, Jack, you'd like to think that was the tires just coming to pressure, but the movement we saw up here that he had in the rear of the car, I think was more than just tire pressure coming up.
All right, let's go back and take a look from Tony Kanaan's car. Is on board.
So of course, Graham Rahal's right ahead of him. There's the wiggle, and there were no sparks. Whoa, and that was also Ed Carpenter had a wiggle too.
Wow.
So I don't know if it's tire pressure. Typically, if it's tire pressure, you'd see sparks because the car is low. But a couple of people, oh, I know what it is. The teams had told me the first few laps, there's the truck rubber. No car has been on the track since the truck race last night, and it takes up to 10 laps to get that rubber and get good grip. And I'll bet that tripped up both those two.
And track temperatures down too. Don't forget about that.
There's Milka Duno. All three drivers are apparently okay in this race, but it is caution here in the early going. Stay with us for IndyCar Nonstop on Versus. 10 of the 20 races here at Texas Motor Speedway have seen the caution fly within the first 10 laps. That is the case tonight. We've had a 3-car incident involving E.J. Viso, Graham Rahal, and Milka Duno. And there is a big mover. A.J. Foyt, the fourth, went from 22nd to 16th on the first lap. Kanaan gained 6 points. We talked about Thomas Schechter. He moved up 4. And Ryan Hunter-Reay also gained 3 positions on that first lap.
And part of that big movement that Anthony had on that first lap is just when we had that movement from Graham Rahal in turns 3 and 4. It just shuffled the whole deck, and that's where the speeds just look so different.
These are cars that are just taking an opportunity to top off with fuel that'll play later, extends their pit window. When you're not going to lose any track position, just go ahead and top off. Leaders wouldn't do that, but when you're near the back, that's easy money.
Yeah, they were already at the back of the line. They're not losing anything. They're topping their fuel off, extending that pit window.
We saw the 98 of Jacques Lazier in the pits. He's still there, so it's undoubtedly something other than just a routine top off for Jacques Lazier in his first race this year, and that car of Graham Rahal suffered some major damage on the left side.
Look at all the electronics. It's just like a lot of spaghetti all right there.
And they put them on the left side of the car, thinking that if you have a crash on an oval, they'll be protected. And unfortunately, in this case, that didn't work.
Well, a lot of times on an oval, when they do put all that stuff on the left side, when that right rear comes around on you, it's the left side that smacks the wall to begin with. There's electronics on the other side too. There's no winning. However you slice it, there's
all the expensive stuff they put on the left.
No winning.
Now, one of the things that we're so curious about with the track conditions, was it slick? Was it truck rubber? We're going to try to see if we can call Tony Kanaan on the radio and see if he gets back to us. Tony Kanaan, this is Jan from Versus. Do you have a copy?
Well, we're on board with Tony right now. He obviously didn't get that first transmission. Try another frequency.
Tony Kanaan, this is Jan Bikas from the Versus booth. Do you have a copy?
Okay.
Well, and he's just weaving back and forth there, getting tire temperature. The one thing is we're just riding along there. Okay, we're now looking at that. But again, Jan did that piece on the banking It's 24 degrees around here, and you still don't get a sense of it. Even though he was up 2 stories in that lift, you don't get a sense around this. I mean, you know, go and walk it. Like you said, you can barely walk up the thing. I mean, you got to be at a big angle attack like you're a ski jumper out over your ski tips. That's the type of angle you're at. Going up there, it's crazy, and you just got to get there to feel it.
Down to Robbie Floyd on pit lane.
Well, you noticed just a moment ago, Jacques Lazier came into the pits and they kept working, doing stuff. You wondered what was wrong. They put a new throttle cable in this car before they came here. And for you mini bike riders out there and you've ever been on like a Z50 or something and held it full throttle for long enough, you stretch the cable. And just the amount of time they've been at this racetrack in qualifying and practice and those few laps out there, they put a little stretch in the throttle cable already because he's such at full throttle for that amount of time. So they were just taking a little adjustment out of there. But that just shows you how full throttle they are here, that he's already stretched the cable in just 2 days.
And the problem when you stretch that cable, you can't get back to full throttle once it stretches.
The Apex Brazil green flag comes out once again. We are back to racing at Texas Motor Speedway. Let's hope we can go some laps here with some side-by-side action. Dario moves away by about 5 car lengths into turn 1. Briscoe is second. Dixon third, then Elio. On board with Danica. She's 6th. And Briscoe makes a bid for the lead coming off corner number 4.
Even Dario got a wiggle going there on the low side.
And they race wheel to wheel down through the quad oval here in front of the grandstand into turn 1. Is anybody going to give? Whoa! Man.
It looks close to us, and it's just that close in person out there.
Look at this.
Man.
Look at this.
So this is Texas, guys. This is that side-by-side stuff. When am I going to get a break? But that's what we've become to love at this racetrack.
At least the fans. I'm not sure the drivers do, or do they, Robbie?
No, they do and they don't. Look at that. And you see how they all kind of tuck in a line as they come off there? That's how you keep your momentum up. That's part of the draft. You're being sucked along. And then you get in the corners. They all split it up.
Kanan up 8 places. TK battered and bruised after that incredible crash at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You see the sparks coming from the underside of the cars. Don't worry about that.
It's just the titanium skid blocks just touching down, and it looks really spectacular. Oh, look at that right in front of Danica. You see that? Elio came up just kind of abrupt.
Those sparks will start to go away as the tire pressures come up. They should be pretty close to full pressure now. Once you get the pressure into the tires, and you'll see more sparks typically on the high side. They're bigger bumps on the high line than the low line.
Turns 3 and 4, the bumps have gotten really more exaggerated up on the high side down there.
On board with Rafa Matos, that's Marco Andretti up on the high side. Whoa, and he goes around pretty easily.
Yeah, he's going to keep that momentum going.
Alongside Robert Dornbos now in the red 06, coming up on Tony Kanaan.
There's Rafa. You hear Rafa had to get out of the gas there a little bit. He was kind of closing in on Dornbos. You heard him get out of the gas, lost that position. Well, last year, Marco Andretti, he loved the high side around this racetrack. I talked to him before this. He's like, yeah, I was trying to drive up there next to the wall. There just wasn't enough rubber there. But as the race goes along, he thinks that's his happy spot around this racetrack. And he made a lot of 3-wide attempts last year. It was great racing.
On board with Sarah Fisher. She's running in 16th position. Up ahead is Ed Carpenter. And now Marco Andretti goes to the high side of Tony Kanaan.
When your car is working on the high side, like Marco wants his car to work up there, when you roll off a turn 2 and you roll off a turn 4, and the car's really driving off that right rear, that's where you get the momentum and acceleration. But then once you get into the corner again, he's got a little longer distance on the high side, so you always see, in this case, TK on the inside kind of gains back some of that track position.
No question that Marco Andretti.
Carlo. Go there. Carlo.
And the reason you want to hear that from the spotter is when you get the side shot here, see, he's in the blind spot. That's why they keep saying Carlo. because you don't want to come over and rub tires side by side, especially when it's your teammate.
Yeah, and they're being pretty respectful to each other. Look at that. They got a couple feet of each other there.
When we talked to Elio Castroneves before the race started, he said you had to communicate with other drivers. Now, obviously, he's not saying, hey, buddy, watch where you're going. How do they communicate with each other?
Drivers have an amazing ability just to have a sense of what's around them. I mean, just out of the peripheral of your vision and just a sense of it. But the spotter is a big part of that, helping him out. Just when we said inside, inside, and like Jan said, is you got a little bit of a blind spot. And there, he's got the position on him right now. But the spotters, the way things happen around here so fast and you're so tight, the spotter is helpful at this track more so than anywhere we race.
And one of the things that Elio was talking about, and a nice move between Weldon and Danica Patrick, of course, red, white, and blue on the top of Dan Weldon, and there's Mario Moraes. A lot of people in the silver machine, a lot of people have said, keep your eyes on Mario Moraes. He has an ultra-fast car, but he gets pretty squirrely oftentimes in traffic.
Mario 7th. Danica is 5th. Weldon 6th.
So obviously now, whatever we were seeing those first couple laps, whether it was just a cold track and tire pressures or it was rubber from the truck race, I'm happy to see now that everybody's really kind of settled down and there's nothing squirrely going on with the race cars.
Jack, sorry to see Graham out so early.
No, indeed, I think all of us are sorry to see Graham out. You've got a chance now, Graham, to look at some of the replays. Does it help you piece together what actually happened?
No, I mean, it's really honestly tough to tell. Right away, something felt broken. Or I don't know if something's broken or not, but I've never had a car, you know, and obviously I haven't been doing this too long, but I've never had a car that bad. And I was trying to hang on for my dear life. I mean, you can see it in the first couple corners. The car was already going away. And I got into 1 and 2, and it just stepped out big, and I tried to catch it, and around it went. And it's disappointing for the McDonald's group. I mean, we were off pace all weekend, and to end it this way is even more frustrating.
Yeah, and it was, as we saw in turn 4, you got the signal. And then how tough is it to try and get out of harm's way?
Well, it wasn't just in turn 4. I mean, I felt it, I felt from the very start into turn 1. I planned on going high, and I went high, and it didn't feel right. So going into, 3 and 4, I went a little lower, and it snapped even bigger, and so something wasn't right. Clearly, going into 1-2, I tried to start on the bottom, and I let Sarah get plenty of room, so I was having fresh air, and it still just snapped in a major way. I don't know if something's broken or what happened, but as I said, it's really, really frustrating.
Sorry to see you out. We'll see you in Iowa.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Well, still good side-by-side racing here as Danica Patrick and her teammate Marco Andretti are side-by-side. Ryan Briscoe has led 5 of the 6 races this season. The only race that he has failed to lead was Long Beach. Briscoe leads here at Texas. Franchitti, Dixon, Castroneves, and Weldon are the top 5. Ryan Briscoe leads after 34 laps here at Texas Motor Speedway. Dario Franchitti there is second. Scott Dixon is third. All those 3 cars running within, well, I'll tell you here when they cross the line, a half a second of each other. Elio Castroneves is about 1.7 seconds behind in third position. Danica Patrick lost a couple of spots a little bit ago, and maybe we have an idea of what happened as we go to a replay. Right now, she is in 6th position.
When you look off the back of the car, here comes Dan Weldon, but watch for flames right there. You see those first little flames from ethanol? That means she had to lift. And boy, look what happens. Here comes Marco when you lose momentum.
But did you hear that? It didn't sound like it was a lift. It sounded like it was more of a pop, like a hiccup in the electronics there, more so than a lift, maybe.
And Danica's moved back up to 6th. Lindy?
Danica is not saying anything over her radio, but her team says that when she comes in, they are going to add front wing, Bob.
You add front wing when the car is pushing, and we've seen a lot of cars be loose. Now, Robbie, to answer your question, she could have been getting, sometimes you'll see, okay, she's catching Weldon now.
Yeah.
So,
well, there was a little lift there.
Right.
Little lift there.
Typically, when you do have a little lift, it does put some unburned fuel and we'll make those flames on a night race.
So look up at the top of our screen. There's the green throttle trace. That's 100% throttle, running 5th gear. There, you see the little blip. There's a little blip in the throttle. Again, we still have a lot of racing left here. Just because you fall back a couple spots, because maybe the car, she asked for a turn on the front end. Maybe the car's washing up the racetrack and you got to get out of the throttle. You want to tune the car. You're going to have about 4 pit stops throughout this race, and you have an opportunity to tune the car, and you want to make that car right for the last 30 laps.
Milka Duno was a victim of circumstances on that crash with Graham Rahal and E.J. Viso. Jack?
Yeah, and before we get to Milka, let me update you. The Firestone engineers have checked all of the cars that crashed, and we can throw the tire pressure issue out the window. They were all up to pressure. So, Milka, as Bob said, you are an innocent victim. When it starts to unfold like it did with you, is it fast action or slow motion?
Everything is really fast. I'm sorry so much for my team because we have a very good car for race, but Graham Spawn, Viso have no place to go. I tried to avoid both, but everything is so fast, and they hit me a little in the right rear, and it was no way to go. Really, I sorry so much for my guy, especially because they work very hard. They give me a good car for race, and just in the first lap, there's no way. There are things that we can control.
Sorry to see you out, Milka. Milka, thank you so much. Guys?
Well, and you heard her say it. I mean, she tried to avoid them. She was turning to the inside of the racetrack, and they just got her right rear. Nothing more she could do. That happens.
And the 3 running up front begin to lap some of the slower cars. That's Jacques Lazier that they just went around in number 98. Biggest movers, we mentioned that Tony Kanaan, he's now up to 9th position after starting in 16th, and Thomas Schechter started 12th. He's up to 18th. There's TK, who right now is running all by himself on the racetrack.
Let's ride and listen to see if he's having the lift as well.
Well, we'll ride again with him later.
Down to Lindy.
And Tony is just complaining of a little bit of understeer. He says overall the car is really good, and that is good news to him because after qualifying last night, he said, we are not where we need to be. This car is slow. I know my guys are frustrated, and they're going to have a long night, and clearly he's moving through the field right now.
And the key for Tony, I mean, he's got a little bit of understeer. When we're riding on board, it looked like he had a lot of steering input in that car. But the key for him now is he needs to take advantage of the packs in front of him. Like Jack said, he's got to stay in that bubble.
And this doesn't look like a routine pit stop either for Mike Conway in the 24 car, as they take the engine cowling off of that car. We have completed 45 laps, so we should be seeing regularly scheduled pit stop before very long. It's Ryan Briscoe leading Dario Franchitti at Texas Motor Speedway on Versus.
Texas Motor Speedway, are we ready? Ladies and gentlemen, start your engine!
We are green at Texas Motor Speedway for the 20th time for the Indycars racing here at the 1.5-mile TMS layout.
Texas Motor Speedway is the scene of our IndyCar Series event here tonight. The Texas Indy 550. 51 laps are complete. And the leader is Ryan Briscoe. We're watching some action here in the middle of the pack.
That's on board with Sarah Fisher in the Dollar General car.
She's running 16th. Up ahead is Ed Carpenter. Ahead of him is Alex Tagliani and Thomas Schechter. Tagliani in the Rexall Edmonton Indy sponsored car, and King Tut.
Now watch her steering wheel. It appears as though she has a setup down the straightaways where she was actually turning a bit to the right. We'll get back to that. Anthony Foyt hitting pit lane.
Paul Tracy drove this car last week at the Milwaukee Mile in West Allis, Wisconsin, but AJ gave it to his grandson.
And this is part of the whole game here. This is under green pit stops. The challenge right now for Anthony. That looks frustration. Was that a stall? No, that was just some frustration. Off he goes. But the challenge now, he's on cold tires, up to pressure. Pit lane, when he gets out of pit lane and he's going on the inside of the track in turn 1s and 2, that is the bumpiest section on this racetrack, just getting back out onto the track.
Rafael Matos just took 9th place from Tony Kanaan, and Robert Dornbos is now right on TK's rear wing. I don't think that car is handling very well for TK.
No, and you know, we just saw that from TK. Is he definitely doesn't. Okay, everybody, we're at lap 55. Everybody's coming in. These are the stops, guys.
Dan Weldon and Marco Andretti.
Also time to see who doesn't stop. That's how you find out who's getting the fuel economy. You don't want to be stopping early at this stage. You want to be stopping later if possible.
Yeah, and as he rolled down pit road, you definitely could see everybody had their tires laid out.
Watch front wing. Let's see if he goes, Freddie. Yep.
Yep.
That was quite a bit of front wing.
And just about the same length stop for Marco Andretti. Both of them roar out of the pit lane, and here comes Danica. Down to Jackaroot.
Remember, it's a 60-mile-an-hour speed limit. Has to take a wide entrance, but has a pit opening there. So they go to work changing the Firestone Firehawks. You can see the fire out the long exhaust. Let's go to Robbie Buell as they're filling the car full, and she's off and away, Robbie.
As with Mario Marias, just a wing adjustment on the front, one turn. They're happy with him right now, telling him the race is not now. Just use your mental energy a little bit later, as we see Tony Kanaan leave. And guys just lining up down the front straightaway. Here comes Robert Dornbos, as well as Hideki Muto down the front straightaway. And it looks like Ryan Briscoe as well.
Indeed, he had to slam on the brakes to get under the speed limit. Let's go down to Lindy as Ryan is headed toward you.
And here he comes, and Ryan Briscoe not saying anything over his radio today as he gets 4 new tires and fuel. Unlike his teammate Elio, who is complaining of being loose, Ryan is not saying anything. Dario Franchitti behind him. Dario is complaining about a lot of understeer, and there goes Scott Dixon as well.
They go out in the same order that they came in. Briscoe, Franchitti, and Scott Dixon.
That, I mean, you want to talk about energy level there. When they're all coming in under green there, man.
And Elio Castroneves comes to pit lane also, Lindy.
Yeah, and Elio, as I've said, is really complaining that his car is loose, and we can see that they are putting on 4 new tires, and we're looking to see if they make any adjustments, and it really doesn't look like they did, guys.
They took a little bit of front wing out, and that's what you do if the car is loose, and that's a great advantage for Castroneves. Being able to pit later means he's getting better fuel economy.
And one other thing they may have done to that car to just fix that looseness he's feeling is they could have adjusted the tire pressures a little bit. They could have run a little bit more tire pressure up in the right front, or soften the left rear, or take pressure out of that, just to give him a little better sense and feel.
And Carpenter also comes in for a pit stop. He may have led a lap there as the others came in for a stop. Let's watch the...
So that's lap 58, Jan. Let's make note of that. That's lap 58 when he's coming in. So they're making some good mileage.
Clear out.
And Sarah Fisher makes a pit stop in her Dollar General sponsored car. Winner of the Scott Brayton Award this year at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Meanwhile, on the racetrack, it is Ryan Briscoe. Now he has a little more than a second lead on second place Franchitti and about a 2.2 second lead on Scott Dixon.
And this is what I love. After we have green stops is to see where everybody cycles back up onto the racetrack. And again, part of the key, you always want to get back up on the race. There's some signaling going on there with
that's communication,
that? That's
wasn't it?
Thomas Scheckter saying, get in line, maybe move on. I don't know what.
Oh, look at this.
Elio says that, excuse me, not Elio. Briscoe, you know, he was thinking about making it 3 wide there.
And that means that Briscoe's second lead is down to 0 as Dario Franchitti now is caught up to him.
So as I was saying, the excitement of having green flag stops and then cycling back up on the racetrack, I love to see where everybody comes out and who's your partner out there, because the bigger group of cars that you have together, the faster you can go. And if you're not part of that pack and you were a second slow coming out of pit road, you may not be able to pull up into that draft. So you can't give up anything anywhere as you're coming down pit road. And and getting off the pit road on cold tires, as bumpy as it is here, is just a huge challenge.
Kanaan and Matos running 10th and 11th here with 63 laps completed. Ryan Briscoe leads at the Texas Indy 550. Stay with us for more on Versus. Ryan Briscoe leads at the Texas Indy 550 from Texas Motor Speedway. The advantage over Dario Franchitti, just about a second. There he is in the blue car coming behind Alex Tagliani and Ed Carpenter. There's Dario. He's in a battle with Scott Dixon for second position, and Elio Castro Neves is right there in fourth spot. Now let's go down to Jackaroo.
Hey guys, even every pit stop we talk about the little things that you should and should not do. I want to take you back to the replay of the last green flag stop. Now Blair Julian is changing the outside tire for Scott Dixon. See, he moved it back in, and why? For sportsmanship, so that he could give a clear run out for his competitor, the number 6 Ryan Briscoe. That's what this is all about. One team helping the other, despite the size of these pit boxes.
That is some great trust, some great camaraderie. And you know what goes around comes around.
I was just going to say, it all comes back full circle, doesn't it?
Lindy, what happened in your area of the pits during those sequence of stops?
Well, everyone around Ryan Briscoe made adjustments to their car. Elio did a half-wing turn. Marco Andretti did a half turn on both sides. Dan Weldon did one wing on the turn. Dario Franchitti did a wing adjustment. Ryan Briscoe did nothing. He says his car is great. They just told him, you have got a good lead on Dario. We're comfortable with where you are, so save some fuel. Robbie?
I just come from Jay Pinsky and Rafael Matos' his area, and they said that the car was a little bit loose. He needed a little front wing added and a tire pressure adjustment, and I worked farther down, and I see Mike Conway having problems. They're having to change the gear stack in his car. Robbie, I know you don't want to hear about that, but he was going down the back straightaway, and he started hearing a noise, and I said, hey, bring it in. Something ain't quite right. So fourth gear evidently went wrong. They're changing the gear stack, trying to get him out there, and this kid has had nothing but bad luck this year. Looks like Scott Dixon has now gotten by Dario Franchitti.
Yes, that is correct, Robbie. Now Scott Dixon is in second position. Franchitti in third, and Dixon tries to get under Ed Carpenter.
And does so.
And Franchitti, who he just went by, Dario wants to stay close enough with Dixon just so Dixon can help pull him along, and they can work together. Those two cars working together to try and go faster to chase Briscoe down.
And you heard Lindy talk about all the changes that were up and down pit road with front wings, and then also about people saving fuel. I have been watching the times of people like Dario Franchitti. They flew when they went out of the pits up in the 211, 212 range. Now they've throttled it back, saving some fuel.
Here's our Firestone telemetry. Look at the throttle all the way to the floor. Lifting a little bit.
And that's Ed Carpenter right in front of him. Dixon's the car in front of that. That's Dario needs to get up there and get on the tail with Dixon.
Oh, he's got a great run. This is that superpower that Elio talked about. Wow, that was a picture-perfect draft around the outside.
Yeah, and he's making it work. He's got that pass done.
You can just hear those revs climb. As soon as you get right into that sweet spot where it punches the hole in the air, it just...
And that's just where it gets so crazy here and things happen so fast is when you have a pack of 6 or 8 cars together and one guy has to lift off the throttle. It just changes that sequence so quickly in terms of how fast you can come on that car in front of you.
Jack, meanwhile, Ryan Briscoe is continuing to move away.
And I had an interesting conversation this morning with Rick Mears, who's part of the Penske organization. He said the one thing that Ryan Briscoe has done that he didn't do in years past is every corner and every lap is a learning experience. He said when you run a race here, what you've got to do, as I said, explore the possibilities. That's exactly what Ryan Briscoe has begun to do very, very well. So he's building his little black book. He won't put it into action probably until the last 30 laps. There's a lot of racing left here at Texas.
Welcome welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway. We recap what's happened so far.
And right off the bat in the middle of the screen, Graham Rahal gets a big wiggle. We also saw one from Ed Carpenter. Graham Rahal said afterwards he knew something was really wrong, thinks something may have broken on the car. Poor E.J. Viso and Milka Duno get caught up in Graham Rahal's accident. It stepped out. E.J. Viso in black and green there. No place he could go. Milka Duno, we heard from her as well, saying she tried everything she could to avoid it, but no go. Now, was that caused by possible truck rubber on the track? Peter Gibbons had told me it would take about 10 laps to run that rubber off the track. Well, funny enough, here's lap 11. Ryan Briscoe, once the track is clean, shows his muscle, goes to the outside, but this was something that he had to work on all the way down the back straightaway, through 3, through 4, makes his way to the lead.
And so we've had 1 caution so far for 8 laps, 4 leaders and 4 lead changes. Ryan has led the most laps, and we're averaging over 170.5 miles an hour. Briscoe leads. Dixon is second. Elio Castro Neves, you saw on nonstop, went around Dario Franchitti for 3rd place, and Marco Andretti beginning to show some muscle. He's up to 5th.
And this is really unique what we're seeing Ryan Briscoe do here. Rarely do we ever see somebody check out. He's running 2 miles an hour faster than anybody on this racetrack by himself. So that is one fast race car. You know, I'm sure the guys are on the radio talking to say conserve fuel, use your weight jacker, use your bars, just do everything you can to have that car run as free as possible. But he's pulled out a 6-second lead. That is way unique at this racetrack to see that dominance.
And when you have an opportunity to get a lead and you're catching lapped cars to get a tow, that is just, there's nothing better than that.
Oh no, he's just that's as a race driver, it's can't get any funner.
Marco Andretti has moved to 5th position.
A few laps ago, we know that Marco Andretti likes to run high. Check this out. He decides to get up, get some air off of it from Dario's car, gets way high, has to lift off of the throttle, does a nice job doing that. I had mentioned Peter Gibbons a moment ago. He's the race engineer for Marco. He was the one who told me he was concerned about those first 10 laps with the truck rubber, but there's no question he has given Marco a car that Marco likes to run high.
Yeah, and that's the exact same setup that he had last year on that car. And, you know, you talk about Peter Gibbons, his engineer. That's a whole unique scenario. Peter Gibbons was with Marco's dad, Michael, through the better part of Michael's wins through his career. So it's really an interesting makeup that they have at AGR. And you know, how Michael, I think now that Michael's on Danikar's car calling that strategy, he has a lot of confidence in Peter Gibbons really being a leader and a mentor for Marco in his learning curve as a young race driver.
Ryan Briscoe has just lapped the 11th place car of Hideki Muto. So 10 cars now on the lead lap. And Ryan Briscoe is running away with it right now. He enjoys a 7.3 second lead on Scott Dixon.
That's called hooked up.
And here he comes up on the 10th place car of Rafa Matos. Ryan Briscoe, who finished 2nd last week in Milwaukee, is leading here tonight.
We are back here at Texas Motor Speedway where Ryan Briscoe is flat slapping the field. And guys, remember at the start I said you want to be inside the bubble. Briscoe's making it near impossible to do that as he continues to put cars a lap down, riding up again on Mario Moraes right now. And here's my observation. Not only is he slapping the field around, but when he's in clean air, he's able to go equally adept on the high side, but more importantly on the low side. He doesn't want this thing to go down to the last 30 laps. He wants everybody to know that this is a case of he is dominating right now. Let's go to Robbie Floyd.
Well, it has to be a little disheartening for Mario Moraes in the number 5. You remember, it was at Indianapolis in that first lap getting into the crash. That's not what he needed. That might not have been the brightest move. Well, Jimmy Vasser's up in the spotters area, not doing the spotting, but trying to give him a few key things to think about throughout the race. He told him earlier, he says, hey, take it easy. It's not about now. It's about later on in the race. But when you're seeing a guy in a red and white car blow by you like that and you're inside the top 10, you had to be thinking, man, my time's got to be now.
Robbie, that is a great point in that Jimmy Vasser is working so hard with Mario Moraes. But you heard Jack talk about Ryan Briscoe as he now tries to put Tony Kanaan a lap down. And what I've noticed by watching the times, Ryan Briscoe is making hay on the field in traffic. When he gets on his own, he actually backs off and runs the same speed as the guys behind him. But when he has to get it done in practice, he has, in traffic, he has something extra. So he's still saving fuel. It's not like he's turned it up and done something different. The car is just fantastic in traffic.
A.J. Foyt relinquishes his 16th position as he makes a pit stop.
And remember when Briscoe came in for his pit stop, he didn't make any adjustments, so he's that happy with that race car.
And Foyt's away with a little over 10.5-second pit stop.
They added front wing. We'll see if that's a trend for other drivers. Again, that's if you have push, you add front wing.
You know, and talking about Briscoe, just, you know, we'll see where the math sorts out here, but we're at lap 104. I'm thinking he's going to be in at 109, Jan.
Right on the money.
Okay, let's see. I mean, he's been out. He hasn't had any help out there, so he's been saving fuel, running those type of lap times.
He came in at a similar time. Elio was the one who might be able to go one more lap than that, to like 1 lap 110. But it didn't buy Elio much real estate.
Yeah. Well, you know, a key to this. Whoa, that was an aggressive turn
now,
into
Rafael
the pit box.
Matos changed his steering rack just so he could do that. He said he had trouble getting into the pit box. They changed the steering rack to a different ratio because he had a hard time getting in. And here's Marco.
Down to Jack.
The crew goes to work on the Venom number 26 of Marco Andretti. Looks to be a nominal stop, guys. In and out, makes the wide around Dan Weldon. Let's go to Lindy Thaxton. Lindy.
Dan Weldon in for fuel and tires, and they also took a turn of the wing out on that Panther car. Panther Racing has won more races here than any other IndyCar team in Texas.
The number 11 of Tony Kanaan out of his pits. No tire pressure adjustments, but a turn of wing, half a turn of wing, both the right and left side. Down to Danica Patrick. It looks like they're putting 4 tires on. Jack, you down there?
Yeah, Danica Patrick, so far, no problems. We were worried a little bit about maybe there was an engine problem. Checked on that. Everything is showing fine in the telemetry. So as Jan Bikas told you, it was just a case of, hey, backing out of the throttle a little bit. Back to the war again goes DP.
Look at the wheel. Look at the bumps coming out pit road. That's where the guy said that is the bumpiest thing. You just heard a little wheel spin hop as she's coming out pit road. But now is the time to get after it, run full throttle.
And this is what they've been working with her all year, not only on road courses but on ovals, and that is outlaps. They say we are working so much for helping her get the tire pressures up, getting the car up to speed. This is where a driver earns your money, and you have someone challenging you from behind while you're trying to get the grip back in the car.
Yep.
Alex Tagliani back there.
Yeah, that, you know, the competition here is so close and so tight. That pit out lap and that pit in lap and what you do from start finish on the beginning of the pit box and coming out. Looking at Dornbos for the Newman Haas Lanigan team.
He was running in 6th position, so a good run for Bobby D.
He said, I just love, he really enjoys this racetrack. He's like, I just push so hard on the gas. I get my other foot on there and I just press down and drive around this racetrack.
Scott Dixon, here he comes. He was running 4th. Lindy, he's headed toward you.
And Scott Dixon, just like everyone else, has been wanting some adjustments on his car. Earlier, he said, you know what? I just really need the front of this car better. And here he comes in getting tires and fuel.
Clean stop, and Dixon roars back into competition. Dario Franchitti is on pit lane. 60 miles an hour is the pit speed limit.
Seems like you're crawling as you're coming down there, doesn't it? Oh, man.
Now, where that fuel probe went in, the IndyCar Series is thinking about experimenting and adding a sensor, which we'll get back to. In the meantime, let's get to Lindy.
And here comes Ryan Briscoe, and it looks like tires and fuel, and they are not making any adjustments to that car. Again, he has said everything feels great, and he just wants to keep going.
Oh, that was a fast one. And Lindy, what I was going to be saying there is they're considering adding a sensor to the fuel probe that you cannot leave the pits until it's actually disengaged from the car. You physically couldn't even put it into gear, and that's something that may only be a few weeks away from actual testing. So they're working on trying to solve that
Great
issue.
idea.
It is a great idea.
Yep.
Did you see him hauling, coming down in off of turn 4?
Yeah.
I mean, that's where you make time under green, is you challenge that race car all the way till you get to that 60-mile-an-hour barrier, and he was humming coming in.
Half turn a wing.
Elio peels away.
And you could see the flash. You could see Briscoe, his teammate, already up to speed.
Now, that probe that you're talking about, that sensor, would, of course, eliminate incidents like we saw at Indianapolis with Vitor Mira.
And what they found is when they started to investigate it, that Honda had already designed a system that they're using in their Acura sports cars. So they don't have to start from scratch. They have something that would physically, as Sarah Fisher comes in here, for example, as soon as this fuel probe would connect, it would prevent a driver from it would automatically put it in neutral, and you could not actually get it into first gear until it disengages. So it would completely prevent anybody from leaving too early, because obviously we saw some scary fires and accidents last few races.
And as you said, that's some pretty simple technology for where we are with the racing world right now. So I think that that's something we're going to have pretty soon. I agree, Jan.
We are halfway through this 550-kilometer race here at Texas Motor Speedway. 114 laps completed, 114 to go. And we still have a battle for second position as Ryan Briscoe leads, but Scott Dixon and Elio Castroneves have found each other for second place. And Dario isn't very far behind.
Well, those guys are about 8 seconds back from Briscoe, so what they're saying to themselves is, let's have a little yellow here. Let's pack this thing back up. That's what they want to happen.
Wheel to wheel through turns 1 and 2. The battle for second place.
And the cars run slower side by side. So if they want to try and catch the leaders, they need to try and stay single file. They all know that. And that's the communication that Elio was talking about. In a way, you have to work together with people. The longer the line in the train, the faster the train can go.
Team Penske is first and second. Briscoe leads. Castroneves is second. Dixon is third, and on board with fourth place Dario Franchitti. Let's review the green flag pit stop performance. Ryan Briscoe, his in-lap was 210.1, his out-lap 209, and of course on cold tires. Dixon had a good out-lap at 210, and Castroneves at 208.7.
Yeah, but look at the balance of Dixon. You have 206 coming in. Yeah, he was the fastest coming out, but that is such a big part of the equation on racetracks like this, especially since we've been green since the initial incident. I mean, it's really incredible.
All right, Ryan Briscoe with an 8.6 second advantage on his teammate Elio Castroneves. More IndyCar racing in a moment on Versus. Richmond will be the next race on Versus, but the next stop on the IndyCar Tour is at the Iowa Speedway. The Iowa Corn Indy 250 can be seen on ABC Sunday, June 21st at 1 o'clock Eastern. That's 2 weeks from tomorrow. Iowa Speedway on ABC. All right, Ryan Briscoe is running away with things here at Texas tonight, enjoying a more than 8.7 second advantage on the entire field, and Elio Castroneves, his teammate, is running in second position. Jack?
Guys, I want to take you back to Ryan Briscoe's last green flag pit stop, and I want you to watch the inside tire changer. See, there's no tire on the ground, but see a guy on the wall? He rolls the tire standing up. Don't have to pick it up. You just slide it on. That's a fraction of a second, but it helps you. Those are the types of things that Roger Penske and that man right there, Tim Cindric, practice 9, 10, 12, 13, 14 times a day back in their shop in North Carolina. It's all about the little things with Team Penske.
But those little things certainly do add up on the racetrack, and they are adding up for Ryan tonight. Man, what a show he is putting on.
And for Roger Penske, the owner there, big news out of Detroit that he's going to be the new owner of Saturn.
Saturn, yeah. How about that?
That's a good injection of life there. That's great to see.
Yep. Mario Marias Dennis and Hideki Muto. Battle for the 9th position.
That was a great update we got from Robbie Floyd earlier, talking that instead of being on the pit box, that Jimmy Vasser has gone up top along with the spotters to work with Mario Moraes. There's no question this kid has speed, but a place like this, to have Jimmy Vasser who knows what needs to be done, that's a great voice to have in your headset.
Good battle here between these two guys. Mario able to hold off the challenge of Hideki at the moment. Hideki goes to the top side.
So,
meanwhile, Danica Patrick is running in 7th position. Michael calls the race for her, Michael Andretti. Here's Robbie Floyd.
And a good guy to have in her ear. Michael, you told me just a moment ago the car's not quite as fast as you thought it would be. What do you think the problem is?
I don't know. The speed's a lot slower tonight than it was the other night, and it's slowing us down. I mean, we're just slow. She's talking in my ear right now, so it's just one of those nights.
What's she saying?
The car feels okay. It's just a bit slow.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
There you go.
and part when he said it's just a little bit slower tonight, part of what that means is you have a gear package in there. You got a 4th, 5th, and 6th, probably 3 top gears, and say you thought the pace is going to be a 2:14 pace. The fact that it's a little bit slower, you just don't quite have that proper gear package, and that just kind of...
Meanwhile, another battle for 2nd position as Dixon takes 2nd from Elio.
These guys smoked him on the inside there, didn't he?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's that momentum.
Yeah, I mean, again...
How do you say that?
You know, it just, I don't know.
Momentum. That's what you were using earlier in the season.
Okay, well, Elio lost a little bit of that momentum there, and Dixon shot right on by.
Well, let's see how he got that momentum to take him around.
Okay, so watch Elio. So see, he was just sliding up the racetrack, it looked like, and he probably just had to dump the throttle a little bit.
Yeah, he had Mario Moraes ahead of him, took a little bit of air off the front of the car, and as soon as you do that, now of course Dixon will also have to work past Mario Moraes. See, Mario's fast.
Yep.
And look at who's looking at the top side of Elio right there.
Yep.
Wow. Marco Andretti now challenges Elio for 3rd position.
Yeah, and I think he's definitely got this. You talked about it earlier, Robbie. You carry more speed up on the top because you're taking a longer radius, but it works for you great here when it flattens out.
Right when you roll off the corner. Well, there he's got the pass down. When you roll off a turn 2, it's like you're being shot out of a cannon. There's a lot less scrub in the car. The fact that it's working on that high side, and it drives off that right rear, and the motor and the RPM just come to life when you have the right balance to run up on the high side. You can't just force the car up there. It's got to be set up to make it work up top.
So Elio was running 2nd a few laps ago, but now he has dropped to 4th. It's Briscoe, Dixon, Andretti, Castroneves, and Franchitti. We have completed 137 laps at the Texas Indy 550 on Versus. Welcome back to the Bombardier Learjet IndyCar 550 at Texas Motor Speedway. Ryan Briscoe has a 10.064 second advantage on 2nd place. Marco Andretti, you saw on nonstop Marco get around Scott Dixon. So Marco now 2nd, Dixon 3rd, Castroneves 4th, and Franchitti is 5th. Down to Robbie Floyd.
With Kyle Moyer, Marco started in 8th. He's worked his way up to 2nd. You have something for Ryan Briscoe.
Well, I think we could run with him if we got up there. I mean, he took off and we weren't able to get through the traffic quick enough. But I mean, I think really if we could get up there, the Venom car could get him.
How's the car been acting? What adjustments have you made to get to this point?
It's just getting better and better by the day. I mean, the car had a little push to start. Now he's just running flat lap after lap after lap. I think we're about the only guys that can run the top side, which is really nice right now.
Must be nice for you. You're hoping for a yellow. Tighten this thing up.
I hope so.
Well, there was a 9.9 second separation between 1st and 2nd when Marco went into 2nd position. We'll keep our eye on whether or not he's able to cut into that advantage Right now, he's not.
And you can see the difference in the top three when you look at pit stop strategy. Briscoe is projected to go to 164. In fact, he may be able to stretch that to like 166, but Marco Andretti will have to pit much earlier based upon when he pitted last time. I think that's probably the right numbers for Dixon, but the way that the fuel economy is going for Briscoe, he keeps extending that window each time, and boy, that is great to have in your back pocket.
And it's pretty amazing that he's getting that kind of fuel mileage being out there by himself. So that just tells you that car is a happy, well-balanced car, and it's running free in terms of how it's rolling through the corners. There's not a lot of scrub in it where it's using extra horsepower to have the speed he has around here.
We are nearing a record pace. The record for the event here is 185.710 miles an hour, and right now the average speed of the race is 184.8. So we're within a mile an hour of being in the record book.
And circling back to what we just heard from Conway, I absolutely agree with him. If Marco can get up and chase this guy right here, Briscoe, if he can get there, he can hold his own with him. But to make up that deficit, that's what's going to be the real challenge here.
Yep, and he is pulling away from Marco. It's now up to more than 11 seconds separation. It was 9.9 again when Marco went into second. And now the second position is 11.4.
Wow. I've never seen somebody at this racetrack do what he's doing right now.
Yep.
Oh, yellow, and this is a yellow.
Oh.
Let's hope it's for something simple like debris.
Let's hope, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Because you know what this means.
That's it.
Everything that Ryan Briscoe has worked for is gone.
Okay, I'm getting goosebumps
There's
now.
a few lap cars in between, but now everyone who thinks they couldn't catch Ryan gets a second chance.
And I want to see if Marco can work his magic on the top side of this racetrack against Briscoe.
Yep, that will be the thing we watch when we go back to green. But right now we're under caution because of debris.
And they will all pit. Once the pits open, the leaders will all come in at the same time, and that is the time when you really got to make hay.
And part of that is anytime you're close to your window and you have a yellow on a super speedway like this, you're coming in for a fresh set of tires and topping up.
But they will have to come in again before the end of the race, right?
Unless there's a bunch of yellow.
Another caution.
If it were green, yes, they'd still have to stop again.
Right.
For what we've seen to this point, I mean, you'd have to say, for as much green run as we've had, they probably got one more stop after this.
However, you know the old saying, yellow breeds yellow.
That's right, yeah.
And hey guys, the other thing you ought to watch is on this set of pit stops, if it's a long, a caution, does someone in the mid-pack decide to come in just before they go to back to green to what we call pack the fuel and gamble?
Absolutely, Jack.
Fort Worth resident and three-time Indianapolis 500 winner Johnny Rutherford is driving the pace car, and he has the field in tow right now as the pits are open, and we should see wholesale pit stops here.
Ryan Briscoe is going to be able to ride the wave of having some lap cars between he and the people behind. He is pitted way down towards pit out, as well as some of the others. When you go to the triple split, it's in order. Briscoe on top, Andretti, then Dixon. They won't all necessarily stop at the same time because of pit selection, but boy, it's all going to come down to who gets across those green barrels first.
Dixon, the last one into his stall, because he's the furthest one down towards turn one.
He's underway already, 6.8, a 7.5, and a 7.4 for Dixon.
Wow, and you saw Kanaan go by there too. Yeah, Kanaan just went right by in our screen there, so they must have done a short fuel, or maybe not take tires. We'll sort this out here in a second. There's Kanaan. Look at that.
Yeah, how about that? Now, Tony is a lap down, but he's going to get the wave around right because he's in front of Briscoe.
Yes. Hey, that was clever. So you do either a short fill or don't take tires to be certain that you get out ahead of the leaders. Right. Then you get the wave around. So not only does he get a pit stop, he gets a wave round. That,
right, he gets a lap
that
back.
was some nice strategy.
I remember we tried that once and went for the short fuel, but there was a fumble and it didn't work.
Well, you lose some and you win some.
Okay, there's
So
Tony. He's underway already. But he has to get, that was close.
Oh, man,
that was really close. And Briscoe was coming out of the pits, tries to throw a block in a way.
Well, I don't think he was throwing a block. He just didn't think anybody be coming.
Yeah, I mean,
with him leading this race,
that was a great
first
stop.
one.
Here we go. Oh, no, he had to swing around the tire.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't say he was trying to do that. That was fantastic job by Andretti Green Racing, the 7-Eleven crew. You can't cut it any closer than that, Jack.
Guys, this is when you gamble, and this is what the 7-Eleven crew did. You saw how quick he was in and out of pit road. They, what we call short filled. They will definitely have to pit again, so they figured, hey, yellows breed yellows. Let's get our lap back, then we'll deal with it. That's some quick thinking by George Klotz and company, because it's a way to get him back on the lead lap.
That, Jack, absolutely is a great move. You know, they got one more stop that they still got to make. They came in, they put some fuel in it. They put new tires on it. He's going to get his lap back here. Move of the day so far.
Nice. We're going to take a break and then come back and hear from Robbie and Lindy on what happened on pit lane in their area. But right now we are under caution at Texas Motor Speedway. Still under caution here at Texas Motor Speedway. Bob Jenkins, Robbie Buell, and Jan Beekes up here in the booth. Jack Arute, Robbie Floyd, and Lindy Thaxton are down pit road. And let's check in with Robbie and Lindy as they summarize what happened during their pit stops. Robbie?
Well, Danica Patrick was to my right, had a little problems with the right rear when she was in there just a moment. She's the last one on the lead lap, but I said something to Michael about doing that. You didn't lose position, but she lost spots out there on the track as they're going around right now. Now watch what happened. I didn't see hardly any adjustments. Maybe he took a little bit of turn out of the front wing, but watch the right rear. There's the adjustment on the front. Everybody else is done. They're saying, wait, I have a problem. I have a problem. He goes back to the gun, and now they roll off. So a little problem with the right rear. And again, she was the last one on the lead lap. She's not going to lose her spot, but maybe position out on the track, Lindy.
Here in Elio's pit earlier tonight, they made a wing adjustment, and then he just said, I have really bad push in turns 3 and 4. And he said, we overcompensated earlier when we made that wing adjustment. So when he came in, he got tires and fuel, and then they did a half turn on the wing to try and compensate for where they overcompensated earlier, guys.
And Lindy, they made that turn, a front wing or half turn, it appeared. And that was a great stop considering that Roger Penske and company, when Elio came in, he was short of the marks. He had a tough time getting around a tire behind him. The crew did a nice job of adjusting, sliding on their knees, and having to start from a different spot.
And anytime you make that wing adjustment, that just adds another half a second, maybe another second to a pit stop. But those guys were on that way quick.
Well, so much for the record pace.
Well, it's actually good you said that, because we could use a yellow here, because now this is, I think, going to be a barn burner.
Hey, Jan, here's the one guy that's gambling. Rafa Matos has come onto pit road to pack full of fuel. Meanwhile, they're working on the shift linkage on the 27 car. Tough night for Hideki.
So that is lap 157 that Rafa's come in on. You'll make note of that up top here, Jack. Thanks.
And by the way, team co-owner Steve Lusso is not here tonight. He's delivering scholarships to students who receive honorary citizenships in his family's hometown of Corleone, Sicily. Ryan Briscoe is the leader of the race as we get ready to go back to green flag racing. And 2 cars, namely Ed Carpenter and Tony Kanaan, got the wave around. They are back on the lead lap. So we now have 9 cars on the lead lap as they will get the green flag next time around. Pace car pulls off. Dan Weldon is having a pretty good race. He's running in 6th position at the moment in the Panther Racing Machine, the National Guard car. There he is behind Dario Franchitti.
These guys are all
they're waiting, aren't they?
Later in the race. This is what they've been waiting for. Restarts here can be frantic.
And it's an opportunity. Everybody's close together. You got to take advantage of restarts. It's a great opportunity.
Here we go. The green flag is out, and we do have one car, namely A.J. Foyt the fourth, between first place Briscoe and second place Andretti. Look at Marco up on the top side, and so is Franchitti. Dario dives to the inside of Alex Tagliani.
He sure did, and like you say, he was the guy on the high side off too, had a big run, and then went to the inside as he went into three. He's got that pass done on tags.
Oh, what a late move down to the low side. Marco stays high. Castro Neves goes low. Now the gloves are coming off.
Whoa.
They sure are.
And Team Penske is back in first and second. And here comes Scott Dixon to the inside of Marco.
Well, the one guy that was flying before we had that round of pit stops is Marco Andretti. So obviously now, you know, he's just got to get his balance quite back. You know, as he burns off fuel and those tires go away, he gets faster maybe.
Here is Elio and Dixon, both getting to the inside of A.J. Foyt the fourth. Marco attempting to do so too. Clean sailing now, as the first three are nose to tail on the racetrack.
And that's Franchitti right on the heels of Marco as they both go by Anthony Foyt.
On board with sixth place Dario Franchitti. Make that fifth place.
That's Marco right up in front of him.
Marco runs high whether he's making a move or not. The car's just more comfortable high. Almost everyone else is running low, and at the moment it looks like the low line is the one you want.
Yeah, well, he's last year he ran it high here, and the reason he couldn't run on the bottom is when he was down on the bottom, the car had too much push in it, too much understeer. His car had a happier balance up top. Same thing he's got here this year as well.
You know, Dario's kind of not really high or low. He's kind of middle.
Yeah.
He can't really get all the way down to the white line. The two Penske cars up ahead, they can get right on the white line.
So watch what you see, those lights right there on the wheel. Hold on, we're just trying to take a look at that. Is if you look at Dario's wheel, there'll be some lights that come up, and those are rev lights that come up right there. There's no rev lights right now. So when he gets closer to that car in front of him, there you go. You see the lights coming? Yep. So that means he's getting closer in the high end of the RPM. We're getting closer to 10,300 RPM.
And now we've got a race for the lead as Elio has caught his teammate Ryan Briscoe.
This is what everyone's been waiting for. They wanted to get back to where they can challenge Briscoe and get, as Elio said in the opening, I want my superpower. He's got his, which is the draft. I don't think now that they're close enough that Briscoe can use traffic because there's been a restart and they got him right where they want him.
A very uncharacteristic race last week for Elio Castro Neves. He crashed in qualifying, started last, and struggled with the car all day, finishing in 11th position. But right now, he's on the rear wing of his teammate Ryan Briscoe. And now the first four. Here's the fifth place battle as Dan Weldon is up on the high side of Dario.
Seeing the high side doesn't seem to be as fast as the low side, so that's going to make it tough sledding for Dan Weldon. Right here, he's getting a draft. He'll have more speed, but as soon as he gets up top, he just can't seem to maintain that same level of momentum.
And part of why he has to pop up there is that gets him in cleaner air when he goes through the corner. If he stayed right on his gearbox, he'd be in that dirtier air. So that's kind of why we see him just pop to the high side to be in that clean air.
More on Dan Weldon from Lindy Thaxton.
You're talking about Dan Weldon's speed. Right now, he is complaining about his speed over the radio. He says the car is slower than the first pit stop when I came in. I don't know what's going on. He said it's handling a lot better, but it's just slower.
Well, not much you can do there.
Got a good run again, but up on the high side, it just won't work for him. As we told you, both Tony Kanaan and Ed Carpenter got back on the lead laps. Ed is now in 9th position. TK is running 8th. So good run by Ed Carpenter in the Vision Racing Menard sponsored car. We'll be back with more from Texas Motor Speedway in a moment. Well, you saw on IndyCar nonstop, we had another yellow caused by an accident. A.J. Foyt IV got into the fence on the outside of the racetrack and slid to the inside. And Grandpa A.J. Foyt is on the radio, and Larry Foyt, of course, to the left of A.J. So the field is under caution once again, and they are now within their final pit window, right?
They were just one lap away. They've just snuck in, meaning that under caution, I expect everyone to hit pit road, and it'll be the final stop of the day. But what it means, Bob, is that you can't make a quick stop or a short fill. You need all the fuel it needs to have totally topped off on the 22 gallons to make it to the end. But now, a little miscue in the pits. If you rush it, the fuel flows a little bit slower on the last pit stop, so you've got to be patient. We saw in Indianapolis some people throw it away. This is the time that makes hay. Teammates, Team Penske, both in the same shot. That shows how close they are.
Elio pitted down toward pit out. Briscoe arrives on the bottom of your screen.
This time they all got to their marks.
Wow. And who's going to win the battle out? It's going to be Elio.
He had a 6.0. Listen to the crowd.
Elio Castroneves has the lead.
And it's worth noting, he has the final pit selection. But hang on, it's done by owner points. He's not leading the points, but he's leading the owner points. When Will Power drove that car in the first race of the year, he earned 28 points, and that means that he got the first pit selection. So he had the premier spot of having the last spot on pit out, and that may make the difference for a win here for Castroneves. Thank you very much, Will Power.
And why that is a premier spot, he just has to shoot right out of his pits, and that trips the timeline. And as long as you're ahead of that guy at that point, you got that position.
Here's Tony Kanaan's stop.
Look at the
wow, the valve didn't fully close when he disengaged.
That could have been a major situation.
And that, when you see that ethanol dumping out of there, and if any of that rolls on the side by the car and gets close to those headers, that's what just ignites the car. So the fact that they got away with that, you know.
That's rare. They normally, once you get them off, they slap shut.
Okay. Elio Castroneves leading Ryan Briscoe. There is Johnny Rutherford, the driver of the pace car, 3-time winner of the Indianapolis 500, and Izod now presents 100 years of victory.
Green flag dropped. We started the race. Had made a couple of pit stops, I guess. All of a sudden, here comes Gordy, backing up to me. And I pass him, and I'm in second place. Pretty soon, here comes AJ. And he's backing up to me, and I pass him, and I'm in first place.
We're on the 100th lap now, and by the way, one more lap, and this would be an official race. This is the halfway mark, 200 laps of the 2.5-mile track. And there the yellow flags come out. It's raining. It's raining.
Started to rain, and this was just past halfway in the race, which means if you run out of daylight and they choose to, they can call the race. So we weren't even thinking about that. I was worried about the fact that AJ and Gordy were going to get to fix their cars. We're sitting there ready to restart the race. Just before Tony was going to say, "Gentlemen, restart your engines," the bottom fell out again, and it just rained really hard for just a little bit, but it was, track was totally drenched, standing water, They knew they couldn't get it finished before dark, so they said that's it. And that's another first at Indianapolis. I won the shortest Indy 500 in history.
That was in 1970s. Johnny Rutherford, now the director of special projects for the Indy Racing League, serves as a coach to the drivers, also the pace car driver. There is the damaged car of A.J. Foyt IV that has made its way back to the paddock area, in the garage area. And within a few laps, we'll go back to racing with Elio Castroneves at now the front of the field. Well, boy, they're watching from the grandstands. They're watching from the infield. They're everywhere here tonight.
Yeah, and the one thing we can't get a sense of this watching it on the monitors or on your TVs at home is really how fast it is around here lap after lap. I mean, we see how close it is and how dicey it is, but seeing it in person at night here under the lights, it's awesome.
Always fun to come here to Texas Motor Speedway because of the hospitality that we are shown by Eddie Gossage, the president of the racetrack, and the owner, Bruton Smith. And now we're seeing 3 cars get the wave around, so they go back to the tail of the field. And that means that the restart is coming up.
The interesting thing about the restart after these 3 get the wave by is that it is going to be really hard for somebody to make a move around the outside, with the exception of what we've seen from Ryan Briscoe. If Ryan Briscoe were in the lead here, you'd be saying, you know what, I don't know who can get by him, but the fact that Elio jumped him, as we check his report card, he is going to make Ryan Briscoe really earn it now.
And they probably aren't going to come up on, if they could come up on some lap traffic and he could use some of that as some picks, that maybe could tip that sequence. I mean, but it's going to be tough.
No slower cars separating the first 7. Jack?
Guys, let's go back to Ryan Briscoe's last pit stop. You were talking about that first stall. Well, look at the way Ryan Briscoe is parked. He's a little cockeyed, but because he has that clear sailing to the line, he didn't have to move and he could get his car corrected. If he had been blocked in by another car, that could have cost him a couple of seconds having to yank the wheel. He didn't have to be as precise because of the pit stall he earned, as Jan said, thanks to willpower. I mean, I'm talking about Elio Castroneves, not Briscoe.
Yes, and of course, Jack, you may wonder when you look at those 2 team cars separated, the teams have to make a choice before the season ever starts. Do they average their positions or do they split? Interesting that now the top teams have all gone individual. They don't keep their team pits together. They want each person to have an equal chance to win the championship based upon what they've done.
They've waved off the restart. We'll go one more lap before getting green. And Lindy has something on Dan Weldon, who's running 6th.
And you guys in the booth, and maybe Jack can even help with this. He just said over the radio, hey guys, let's do what Elio did in Kentucky. And they said to him, 10-4, we get what you're saying to us, it's done.
Well, at Kentucky, they were stretching the fuel, remember? And then Dixon got him right at the end. So I don't know. Right now, everybody should be good to go to the end. Run it as rich as you can go and run as hard as you go. So
well, here's the mileage number. They got to get 3.38 miles per gallon.
Which, Jack, is not quite full rich. So Weldon is hoping that maybe they don't run wide open. But that's close enough to where you'll be close. Here we go.
Green flag waves again. Look at the battle for 3rd already shaping up as Dario tries to get to the high side of Dixon but cannot do it.
Look how quickly Briscoe just comes right back on the back of Castroneves.
Now he looks high going into 3.
So how much teamwork is there going to be here with the Penske cars? You remember watching at Milwaukee last weekend? The hardest guy for Ryan Briscoe, the leader, to get around was his teammate Elio Castroneves, who he's chasing right now.
Yep, good point.
I think if I'm Ryan Briscoe, I want to find out, could I pass Elio if I wanted to? Once you learn that information, then I'd stay behind.
And Danica's looking really racy. Here's battling Weldon for 6th spot.
And we saw how hard it is to pass. She had a really good run off of 2, but now she's had to tuck back behind Weldon. She was up alongside him, even ahead of him as they went into turn 3. This is where she has a good run. This is coming off of turn 2.
Wow, she's got great momentum right now. Look out, watch Danica. Woo! That was some crazy moves in that corner.
And at the same time we were watching that, Weldon had a run on Marco in front of him, and he went to the inside. There's Danica again on the top side.
And this is what we've been talking about. The racing at Texas, it doesn't get any better than this. 7 cars.
And if we saw those Penske cars go side by side, this action behind them would be going over the top. But the fact that they're still in line at the front keeps that spread out, you know, that next 8 cars spread out just all that more.
Marco alongside Weldon. Fans on their feet.
8 cars running within a second of each other.
Danica's down low.
We're looking back at Weldon off of Frankitti's car. The camera looking out the back. Look at the guy who's gotten on the back of that wagon right there. That green and white car, Tony Kanaan.
Yep.
You know, the move of the day was absolutely those guys doing that short fill and getting their lap back.
Boy, you just had to feel so sorry for TK at Milwaukee last weekend when he was just suffering greatly. You could tell how intense the pain was. He wore a brace during the race that he said he couldn't even take a deep breath. It was so tight.
Wow, look at that ducking and weaving ahead between the 2 teammates.
Well, and the reason you're seeing that back there between Danica and Marco is you got to do everything you can to get up in this lead pack. The clock's ticking. Right now, you want to position yourself and you want to get up as far as you can. So right now, they're chasing that guy right there, Dan Weldon, in the 5th spot.
Less than 40 laps to go. Danica once again on the high side of Weldon. Weldon holds his ground. And Elio continues to lead. Keep watching on the IndyCar nonstop on Versus. We have to take a break and be back with more in a moment. There are your first 4, separated by 1/2 second. Castro Neves, Briscoe, Dixon, Franchitti. Danica's running 5th. And you saw a nonstop. What happened when she went around Dan Weldon?
There she is. She has the run on him, looks down the inside. Look at the aggressiveness in the wheel to get there. But she has the inside, Jan, right there. Once you get the inside, she's got that position. Now watch what happens behind her to Weldon. She goes by.
And listen to the engine. Right there. You saw the little flame, the ethanol flame. That checked up Weldon, and up around the outside comes her teammate. That shows the change in momentum by a teeny lift. And Tony Kanaan, again, making hay with that great pit stop strategy early on, working alongside his teammate.
Yeah, Marco's not going to let that go.
So it's Weldon, Kanaan, and Marco Andretti here battling for position. 6th spot.
Danica back there in that 5th spot. She needs to get up there and get on the tail of Franchitti. See that gap right there?
Yep.
That's the gap we want. We want this group right here of Danica back to Marco to Weldon, Kanaan. We want that group to work together to be up there.
Mario Marias is a lap down.
He was one that didn't benefit. There were some others. Remember, there was Ed Carpenter, Rafael Matos, those who also did similar Kanaan-like moves and got themselves back up in contention.
Well, we got 30 laps to go. We're going to take another break. We want to make sure that you see the last laps of this thing as we decide who wins here at Texas.
Texas Motor Speedway winding down the laps with Helio Castroneves leading his teammate Ryan Briscoe. The way I see things right now, guys, Ryan Briscoe is where he wants to be. Remember I said during the early part of the race you have to explore the possibilities? Well, remember when Ryan Briscoe was flat running away from everybody. He showed his strongest strengths in the corners and race traffic. That says to me that when it counts, he'll be able to go to the high side and challenge his teammate for the victory.
Marco Andretti came off the second corner high, tried to get alongside Dan Weldon, could not. So, do you guys think that Ryan is just hanging in there in second and can muscle up to the lead before the race is over?
Well, I agree with Jack that in lieu of losing the lead in the pits, he's where he wants to be. He would much rather be in the lead because I think he had a fast enough car to where no one could pass him. But I think he's tested. I think he knows where his car works. I don't know if he can actually make it around, Elio, but if it were me, I would wait. Don't do it now.
But I would have thought he would have been making more runs just to see where the timing is of coming off of 3 and 4 and where he is at the start-finish line. But there may be just kind of some orders here saying, hey, just run single file in terms of the Penske cars and wait for just the last 2 laps before you even do that, because they want to protect themselves against that third-place car of Dixon and fourth place of Franchitti. Could be tough.
Lindy?
Well, Roger Penske just told Ryan Briscoe over the radio, you've got really good times, you're a really good driver tonight. The number 6 car can take this, but for right now, you just need to be nice and smooth.
Okay.
So I think that's saying you're fast, you're good, but kind of stay where you are till it counts. Don't pull the trigger too quick on that gun.
I agree with you, Robbie, though. I would think that he would be, as Marco goes over the top of Weldon, because I'd seen in the previous shot where Weldon, we saw a few of those ethanol flames out the exhaust. It seems like he had to lift.
And that's what, you know, we say if you come off a turn 4 on the high side, that's when you have a run, and you may beat him just to the start-finish line. You may not get the pass done by the time you get off of turns 1 and 2, but when you come to the line.
By the way, A.J. Foyt IV is okay. He thinks something broke on the car, and from the looks of things, he's right. Now, speaking of Dan Weldon, who is running in the 7th position, Thomas Scheckter won here in 2005, driving for Panther, and the only win on an oval since then by a team not considered one of the big 3, that is Penske, Ganassi, or AGR, was Scott Sharp, who won in 05 at Kentucky. Dan Weldon right now is running in 6th position. But up front, separated by about 0.3 of a second. And there is Scheckter.
Scheckter not had the speed he would like to have today, and you just, you know, sometimes when you don't have it, you just got to drive as hard as you can and muscle along. I mean, we saw him at the beginning of this race. He looked like he was shot out of a cannon as guys were checking up.
So he'll be with you for a few races, huh, Robbie?
Thomas is with us for the rest of the year, and I think that's just a great asset and gives us something to build on as we, you know, shift our focus to 2010. I mean, you never can start too early.
At 04 5th, Marco and Danica.
You think there's any team orders there of saying what to do or you run as hard as you can? I think that answers that question, doesn't it?
Marco went way high there in the quad oval. Our final break before the checkered flag coming up. Elio leads at Texas. Ten laps to go at Texas Motor Speedway. We're going to forget about the order up at the top of your screen. We're going to let you concentrate and us concentrate on who's going to win this thing. Right now, it's Elio by about a half a second over his teammate Ryan Briscoe.
And these two are now clear of Scott Dixon, which it looked like Scott Dixon was hanging well onto the back of Briscoe, and they're hoping that this is just going to be between teammates. Again, surprising that Briscoe isn't staying a bit closer to Elio.
Just as you said that, it looked like he closed that gap up. But it was interesting. Remember what Lindy reported on what Roger Penske said. He said, Ryan, you have a good car. It's fast enough. You've been good all day. Just bide your time, bide your time. And what that's created is these two cars, these Penske cars, have gapped themselves on that third place car of Dixon.
7 laps to go at Texas.
if you were going to try for a slipstream, you would want to hang back to right about where Ryan is right now, because you want to get a run on someone and then take that slipstream and swoop around the outside, as we're seeing Marco do here on the outside. These two have been at it for a long time.
They sure have.
Ever since we went back to green flag, these two guys have been fighting for position.
And there was even one time where Marco tried to go to the low side of Danica and got all kind of squirrely. We know his car doesn't like being down there.
Boy, she is not willing to give up that position, is she?
And this is what we were hoping we saw the Penske cars do earlier. But I mean, these guys fighting for position here, that's all they're doing. They're fighting for position because they're falling back from that group in front of him. But right now, they don't care.
Danica wants to record another top 5 finish. Right now, well, she just dropped back to 6th. Here's the lead, 1st and 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th right there. And there is Danica and Marco.
Now look at that gap that he got. So obviously somewhere in there, you know, as he went by her, she had to do a checkup and come off the throttle and lost that momentum
there you go.
that you wanted to hear about.
Meanwhile, about 3.5 laps now to go. I don't think Ryan is going to do it.
Huh?
You?
No, because I would think I'd see him challenging and kind of setting up that timing of that run, but he's just not getting pulled up there enough behind Elio's car. And like Jack Arute said earlier, who would have thought that the way we saw him just smoking around this place early on, pulling out to a 10-second lead.
See, then he closes in again, right? When it looks like, well, you have to close in a lot more rapidly than that.
Yeah, it went from 36 to 41 hundredths of a second. So Ryan lost a little on that lap. And this time, when they come around, they'll get the white flag.
Well, Elio, he said, you know, he absolutely loves this racetrack, but he also said it with kind of a sigh of just how intense this racetrack can be and just exhaustion. But, you know, getting the satisfaction of doing what he's doing right now, that's just gives you the love of the challenge of this high bank place.
We're on the last lap of the race. Down the backstretch, still no closing in by Ryan Briscoe.
Ain't gonna happen.
Elio Castroneves comes off of corner number 4, heads for the checkered flag, and Elio Castroneves wins at Texas, his 16th career win, his 2nd win of the year. Of course, he won at Indianapolis. His 13th win on an oval in the IndyCar Series, and it's the 5th Texas win for Team Penske in the last 8 races. The captain brings home another win, and not only that, a 1-2 finish. And Elio joins Sam Hornish as a 3-time winner at Texas.
So was it that last pit stop and him beating Ryan Briscoe out of the pit box that won this race?
Yep. This race was won in the pits.
And late in the race, Marco Andretti picked up 4th position from Dario Franchitti. This is how that occurred.
Marco must have been shot out of a cannon to get by him here.
Watch
Look
on the
at that.
left.
Look at there it is. Wow.
Look at all the flash bulbs going.
And guess what? The Spider-Man is back. Elio Castroneves is about to go to victory lane. He's won here at Texas. We'll be back to talk with him in a moment on Versus. Elio Castroneves enjoys the victory. Our salute to the winner, our eyes on victory lane. Here's Robbie Floyd.
Elio, come on over here, buddy. 3's your lucky number. Your 3rd victory in Texas, your 3rd Indianapolis victory. How good does it feel?
It feels fantastic. The team did an incredible job. Actually, to be honest, the number 3 group gave me that. I mean, last pit stop, jump in the front, that's it. I mean, Ryan was doing an incredible job. I mean, he was go on, and that's it. You know, that was incredible. But, you know, there was a lot of game in saving fuel and things like that, and those guys paid off saving fuel. It helps big time on the pits. Man, what a great win.
Was that the case? Was he rich early on just trying to motor away, and you were trying to save fuel to kind of...
I tell you, if he was saving fuel, man, wow, he would have passed me outside easy. But I think he was going for it, especially in the beginning. But I tell you, man, this is great. I mean, great credit for him. He's doing an incredible job, developed this car, like I said. And but what a great group of guys. You know, this guy here, yeah, man. It paid off saving fuel, man. It paid off.
Yes, it did, and the number 3 in the pit stops. That's really what won it today, is getting you out in front of Ryan Briscoe.
Those guys won the pit stop competition in Indianapolis, not because, you know, nothing. I mean, not only the Group 3, but the Group 6. Everyone is pushing each other, not only on the racetrack, but outside the racetrack. So this guy's an incredible. Again, thank you so much. I mean, that was incredible. It was a lot of tough race because, well, how many hours? 2, 3? It was just incredible. But, man, towards the end, I said, pedal to the metal, baby. Let's drive it like I stole it.
And you're moving up in points. Helio Castroneves with his second victory of the season, Bob.
Oh, yeah. What a win for Helio. And now let's find out which team has been named our Firestone Pit Performers. Well, guess who? The Helio Castroneves Team Penske. 4 stops at a total time of 1:45.407 seconds. Back in a moment on Versus.
A timeshare.
Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway. You see Ryan Briscoe there shaking Scott Dixon's hand. Ryan, a second place finish, but you say the last 20 laps were some of the most frustrating of your career. Why is that?
I just couldn't pass Helio. You know, you lead the whole race and get done in pit lane after having such a big lead, you know, and it wasn't because we did a slow stop, you know, it was just the advantage that pit out has. They gave the 3-car guys so much of an advantage. They just overtook the lead at that point, and the cars are just so evenly matched. It's really hard to pass, you know, and I'd get a run, I'd try to go on the high line, but I just couldn't get it done. So it was pretty frustrating knowing, you know, unless something drastic happened that I didn't want to have happen to Helio, that I was just going to come second after dominating the race. So very frustrating.
I know you want to win, but does it help a little that you're now the points leader?
That's awesome. You know, that's what it's all about, the points. But, you know, those wins, you know, that's what we go racing for. And it's just pretty bitter when you're so close to getting it and it falls away. But I'm sure we'll get many more this year.
Ryan, 3 points above Scott Dixon. Jack?
And Scott Dixon, you want to talk about frustration that Ryan Briscoe was referring to. How frustrating was it for you? Because you were flat all the way around all night.
Yeah, I felt bad for Ryan. You know, he dominated the race, and you know, to lose it like he did in the pits, and I do think he had the car to beat. You know, the Target car, we were flat out the whole night, man, just trying to go as fast as possible. We were just barely hanging on to the Penskes. Caught a bit of lap traffic, and then coming out of the pits there, which sort of broke us away on the last sort of 10 or 15. But you know, the racing needs to get better. You know, we used to be able to go around the outside, side-by-side racing here, and at the moment, you know, you just can't do it. You know, I think the cars are too identical. They need to open up the rules again and have a bit of difference between the cars. But, you know, we scored some valuable points for the Target team tonight, and hopefully it'll keep us in the running for the championship.
Let's switch over to Robbie Floyd. Robbie?
Marco Andretti in the Venom Energy Machine. The 26 car finished in 4th place. You would think you'd have a smile on your face, but you're a little displeased, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we had a little problem with the restart gear, so every restart, you know, every time I saw yellow, I was kind of bummed. But once the race got up and going, I think, you know, the Venom car was stronger on longer stints. But, you know, the toughest people to pass was my teammate at the end. So I don't mind racing wheel to wheel, but, you know, that got a little crazy out there.
3 cars in the top 10. You seem like you were having problems with Danica. What did you say to her when you come off the track?
No, I just said, you know, we're going to have to talk. I mean, you know, there's racing and then there's what you're looking at right now. So, I don't know. I think just a little bit disappointed. I think 3 out of the 4 of us get the camaraderie of Andretti Green Racing. So I think we have to have a sit down.
Thanks a lot, Mark.
Thank you.
All right, the point standings. Briscoe leads by 3 over Scott Dixon as Helio Castroneves continues the celebration in victory lane, having won here at Texas. Helio Castroneves is the winning driver for Team Penske. Here is the winning crew.
And on that crew list, there's one person not listed that helped him win. Not even here, Will Power. On the same team, scored points in this car and gave him the critical pit position that won the race.
Down to Lindy Thaxton, who's with Danica.
And Danica, we just heard Marco say that he really felt like you should have let him pass, that he doesn't feel like you're being a good teammate. What's your reaction to that?
Well, first and foremost, the pass that he put on me was really good. It was a totally, completely legit pass. I held the bottom line. I had to lift a little, and he made a great pass on me. But other than that, it's 10 laps to go or 15 laps to go in a long night, and we're very early on in this championship, and I'm not going to give positions up, but I'm never going to I didn't make it hard when he got next to me. He made a really great pass on me. But we'll talk about it, and I'll see what he's got to say, and we'll work it out.
And I know you wanted a top 5 to continue your streak, but how do you feel you did?
At the end of the day, to start the day, I really thought we had a car that could win. So once I got going, it was like, man, it just wasn't very fast. And, steering was pretty heavy for some reason. And just, it just wasn't ideal. And so I don't know what happened. I'm not really sure. We're going to have a look at it. But at the end of the day, it's still 6th, and it's still a good position. And we're just pretty early in the season.
Danica, thank you.
Thanks.
Robbie?
Tony Kanaan, you're the captain of this Andretti Green Racing team. What did you have to say to Marco?
I said to Marco, let's go home, think about it, and we'll talk about it later. I think it's Texas. At the end of the day, everybody's racing hard. Everybody's racing against each other. And I'll bet you each driver today was mad at each other at one point of the race. So we need to go to bed, sleep. It was a long weekend, and we'll talk about it together in the dinner table next week.
It's Texas. You have to expect that. Tony Kanaan finishes 8th, and he still does not like this car. He said there's going to be a big old-fashioned Texas barbecue tomorrow, that chassis. Jack?
Like 1 lap before us.
Robbie, one of the things we like to do is actually have the last word with the championship team of the night. And Tim Cindric and, of course, Helio Castroneves, from your standpoint, now that everything is settled down and here in Victory Lane, what was the turning point in this race?
Really about halfway through the race, we started to figure out what the car wanted. We'd made a couple changes throughout the night and got it to where it was a bit more predictable. And then it was a matter of getting track position. And the last 2 pit stops, we were able to pick up spots each time. And that was really attributable to him getting in his box the right way and fast. And then obviously the 3-car guys, there's nobody better.
And the beautiful thing, Elio, because you had that first spot, even though you didn't have to spend so much time getting in straight because you could go straight out.
Absolutely. I mean, this time, the last one especially, I just was worried about to go for it. And thank God, I mean, sometimes, it's the luck of the draw. I mean, obviously, Will did a race in St. Pete and collect points for Team Penske, and I'm taking the benefit from it. So it's a whole team, as I said, and we took advantage, and today we collect.
Fellas, when it comes back to Monday morning, that's what they'll be talking about at Team Penske's garage, the little things.
All right, let's take a look at the final results, and I'll give you a few stats as we look at it. It's Marco's best finish of the year in 4th. And Robert Dornbos had his best finish on an oval, 11th. It was the first 1-2 finish for Team Penske since Sonoma of last year, and the first 1-2 finish for Team Penske on an oval since Phoenix in 2005. And even with the late yellows, this was still the 4th fastest race at Texas. Here are the points now. Dixon is 3 behind Ryan Briscoe. Dario Franchitti is 11 behind, and even Ryan Hunter-Reay down there in 10th position is only 83 points behind. So another great race here at Texas Motor Speedway. We always enjoy coming here, as we said, and always good to see so many fans gather here at this great facility to watch the Indy cars run. Helio Castroneves continues to celebrate. And so the 20th IndyCar race at Texas Motor Speedway has come to a close. And we thank Eddie Gossage, who's president of the track, and his entire staff for their hospitality and excitement. The next stop for our Versus crew will be round 8 from Richmond International Raceway under the lights Saturday, June 27th at 8 Eastern. You can find Eyes On at your local Macy's. Coming up next, PBR Built Ford Tough Series from Dallas. For more information on IndyCar, go to Versus.com. Congratulations to Helio, the winner here at Texas.